The stage is set in Glendale, Arizona tonight, where Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz are expected to take the stage any moment now. Tonight's rally is part of the campaign's tour across battleground states this week, expected to take them to Nevada tomorrow. The campaign going from Philadelphia to Wisconsin to Michigan, now turning to the southwestern states. Thousands lining up in blistering heat earlier today to get into the rally. The campaign says their goal is to reach diverse voters in these southwestern states and to keep Arizona's 11 electoral votes blue. Let's bring in NBC's Aaron Gilchrist from Glendale, Arizona. Aaron, the campaign hosted large rallies in Philadelphia, Wisconsin, Michigan. Is the energy the same level out there in Arizona tonight?
Yeah, Valerie, I definitely would say that it is. Right now, Senator Mark Kelly is on the stage here along with his wife, former Representative Gadi Giffords, talking to this crowd that has been in the room here for several hours. And I have to tell you, it really was like a party atmosphere in here as the crowd began to grow. We've been told by a campaign official that about 15,000 people are packed into this arena right now. We're still doing some checking, but that may be a record, a historic record for Democratic Party gatherings here in Arizona. But certainly people are attentively listening to the senator speak right now. And when he's done, we do expect to hear from Governor Walz and Vice President Harris. In the in-between time, there may be more music to play, and that party atmosphere might continue, Valerie.
Aaron, the campaign has said they're trying to reach diverse voters in these southwestern states. Who exactly are they trying to reach, and what are some of the issues that are top of mind?
Yeah, you're right. The campaign has said that in Arizona and Nevada in particular, they think that there is a group of voters that would sort of fit in the categories of young voters, black voters, Latino voters, in large numbers that they want to be able to speak to and address the issues that matter to them. We talked to some independent voters here in Arizona, and they outnumber registered Democrats in this state, and they have the same sorts of concerns that we're hearing in other parts of the country as well. They have concerns about economic issues, things affecting their ability to keep money in their pockets or put more money in their pockets. They're also concerned about reproductive freedom, something that we've heard speakers here talk about tonight. We expect to hear Governor Walz and Vice President Harris speak about as well. And then they're also concerned about border security and immigration. I do want you to hear what we heard from some independent voters here in Arizona. This is in particular related to economic issues, which really is at the top of the list of concerns here. Listen.
The two big things with her right now are immigration and economy. Obviously, like I said, the economy is not in a great spot. Just some kind of a plan. I mean, I know when you're borderline in a recession like we are right now, it's not easy to swing yourself out of it.
I think it's like, for me, it's just the most benefit I can get from whoever party it is. So I'm paying attention on how it affects me directly. Who's going to put money back into my pocket as far as to make it more affordable.
And so these voters have told us that they want to hear specifics when it comes to what can be done, what a President Harris would do to make things more affordable, for example. And so that's something we'll be listening out for tonight. The immigration border security issue is a really important one here in Arizona as well. We know that today the Harris campaign released a new ad here in Arizona and in Nevada, specifically talking about the work that Vice President Harris did as a prosecutor as it relates to drug cartels and gang members and things that she wants to do if she is to win the White House in November. And so we'll be listening to see what sort of reaction she gets from this crowd and how it resonates here as this campaign moves forward across the Southwest. Valerie?
Finally, Aaron, President Biden and Harris are said to attend their first joint event since he quit the campaign. What do we know?
Yeah, the president indicated that he would be on the campaign trail with Vice President Harris. This is actually an official event that's coming up next week in Maryland, right outside D.C., obviously. We're told that this is going to be an opportunity for the two of them to talk about lowering costs for the American people. But this is going to be the first time that we see them together as the former candidate and the new candidate for the Democratic Party. And so it'll be an interesting, and I should say we did see them on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews last week. But this is going to be the first time we'll see them speaking together in an atmosphere that could have a campaign sort of a tone to it. And so we'll be looking for the level of excitement behind President Biden's voice in speaking up for his vice president and pushing her forward as the nominee for the Democratic Party ahead of the convention coming up the following week, Valerie.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist in Glendale, Arizona. Aaron, thank you for your time tonight. Tonight, former President Donald Trump is back out on the campaign trail. It's his first rally this week, but it's not in one of the battleground states that both he and his running mate and his opponents have visited. It's Montana, the ruby red state he won by more than 16 points in 2020. This year, Republican Tim Sheehy is trying to flip the Senate seat currently held by Democratic incumbent Senator Jon Tester. Yesterday, Trump summed up his strategy this way.
I'm going out to certain places to help certain senators get elected, not even for me. I'm trying to help when I go out to Wyoming or when I go out to Montana, or I'm going to different places to help people. And I don't have to go there because I'm leading those states, as you know, by 35, 40, 50 points.
Okay, let's bring in NBC News campaign embed Jillian Frankel from Bozeman, Montana. Jillian, my first question, where is Trump? We know his plane was diverted for mechanical reasons, right?
That's right, Valerie. As you mentioned, we know that Trump's diversion to Billings was due to a mechanical issue. The Secret Service confirming today that there were no security concerns that caused that diversion. Beyond that, we know that he's set to hit a fundraiser and deliver remarks tonight in Big Sky, Montana, with North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum before he heads here to Bozeman for his rally tonight, which is set to kick off in just a few hours at 10 p.m. Eastern.
And J.D. Vance has been essentially following Vice President Harris and Governor Walz in the battleground states this week. Can we expect to see Trump out in those key swing states soon?
Well, Valerie, the Trump campaign has been light on the details about the former president's campaign rally schedule over these next few weeks. We do know that tomorrow he's set to participate in a fundraiser in Aspen, Colorado, followed by an interview with Elon Musk on Monday evening. And beyond that, as you mentioned, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, his running mate, has been hitting the battleground states over the last few days, visiting Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, which, of course, Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, have also visited. But as for the former president's schedule across those battleground states, we're still waiting for the campaign to confirm.
All right, and let's talk about the Senate seat. What's the state of that race and what's at stake here?
Yeah, Valerie, as you mentioned earlier, Montana is a ruby red state that former President Donald Trump swept back in 2020. But here this year, the Senator Jon Tester, a Democrat, is defending his seat from Republican challenger Tim Sheehy, a former Navy SEAL and a businessman who has been backed by former President Donald Trump. And at stake in this race, beyond the Senate balance of power, which of course we know that there is a razor-thin majority and every seat really matters, we're also going to test the weight of former President Trump's endorsement and how much it continues to impact Republican politics at large and Republican voters here in Montana.
Lastly, today there was an update in the government's election interference case against the former president. What more can you tell us?
That's right. The prosecution and Trump's attorneys were set to file a joint status report today, August 9th, to go over the outline and the timeline for pretrial proceedings. But special counsel Jack Smith and the prosecution team asked Judge Chutkan for more time to go over the impact of the Supreme Court's immunity decision and how it would affect his 2020 election interference case out of Washington, D.C. We now know that Judge Chutkan has approved that delay, and we're now not expecting to see that joint status report filed until August 30th. But in terms of the timeline, Valerie, we knew that this 2020 election interference case was really unlikely to go to trial ahead of the November election. And now this is just one more delay. Valerie?
All right, Jillian Frankel in Bozeman, Montana tonight. Jillian, thank you. Also today, the fallout from Trump's wide-ranging press conference from Mar-a-Lago continues. At one point during his remarks, he shared a story about almost dying in a helicopter crash and saying the brush with death happened alongside former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown. Today, Brown said it never happened. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has the story.
During an at times meandering press conference Thursday, amid a flurry of falsehoods,
Nobody was killed on January 6th.
a remarkable story from Donald Trump about a near-death experience. It's under new scrutiny tonight. The former president referring to former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, who dated Vice President Kamala Harris in the 90s.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. There was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing. And Willie was, he was a little concerned. But he told me terrible things about her.
We spoke with Willie Brown by phone today.
To be clear, you have never been on a helicopter with Donald Trump?
No, I have not. Are you kidding me?
Have you ever had any conversation with Donald Trump about Kamala Harris?
Of course not.
His initial reaction to Trump's comments?
I laughed. I just assumed that he was on a helicopter ride with somebody black and he made a mistake and thought it was me.
It appears Trump may have confused Willie Brown with former California Governor Jerry Brown, whose spokesperson says did ride in a helicopter with Trump during wildfires in 2018, but adds there was no emergency landing and no discussion of Kamala Harris. Also in that helicopter, then Governor-elect Gavin Newsom. His spokesperson also says there was no emergency landing. Today, the Trump campaign was asked about the pushback to the former president's claim.
I would just defer you to President Trump's statement and what he said yesterday. The president has a lot of amazing stories from his life.
Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News.
We are following a developing story out of Brazil tonight. A passenger plane carrying 61 people crashed near Sao Paulo earlier today. According to the airline, there are no survivors. This is where the crash happened in the city of Vinhedo, southwest of the capital. And this is the moment it happened. We must warn you, it is disturbing. You can see the plane there just spiraling out of control, hurtling towards the ground. Aerial footage shot later shows the site of the crash and remnants of the plane engulfed in smoke. NBC's Tom Costello joins me now. Tom, what is the latest here? What do we know about what happened?
Well, bottom line, right at this moment, Brazilian investigators say that they have now recovered the plane's black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder. They're going to be critical because they need to understand why this plane, this regional plane, which is an ATR-72, a French-Italian-built turboprop plane, why did it literally fall out of the sky? As you know, it was on kind of a regional flight going into Sao Paulo. This happened this afternoon, and when you look at the video, it literally appears that the plane falls like a pancake out of the sky, kind of doing a very soft, if you will, turning motion at the time, and then slams into the ground. The data from Flight Data Radar Data 24 says the plane was at 17,000 feet, and then suddenly from 250 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour, it dropped all the way down to the ground in less than a minute. Here's what's interesting. Flight data also suggests that there was a severe ice warning at altitude, anywhere from 12 to 22,000 feet at the time the plane was flying. So the question is, okay, it was flying at 17,000 feet. Did it run into heavy icing conditions? We simply don't know. But all people on board, 61 people in total, 57 passengers, 4 crew members, they all perished in this crash. Nobody on the ground was injured. We did hear from one passenger who showed up late for the flight, so he was denied boarding. And now he says he's so grateful that he didn't make the plane, and he wants to hug the gate agent who wouldn't let him on board. This is a Brazilian investigation. U.S. authorities should not be involved unless they request assistance. Valerie?
Yeah, Tom, that was going to be my next question. If the U.S. is not involved, who does have jurisdiction over this investigation? What do we know?
Brazilian investigators have a reputation for being very good. They'll be in charge. They may, in fact, call in the European Aviation Authority, the counterpart to the FAA, because this plane was built in Europe. And then the plane maker, ATR, will probably also be involved. It released a statement saying that it is fully cooperating with the investigation. This is a very robust, well-known plane. It's a workhorse. It is a very common puddle jumper. That's kind of the vernacular used around the world. Seats about 68 to 72 people in total. On this day, 61 people were on board. And so the question remains, was it because of the icing, or did something more serious, did something serious occur that literally caused the plane to go into an aerodynamic stall at 17,000 feet and then fall like a rock? All
right, such a tragedy there. Tom Costello, thank you. Right now, millions across the Northeast are under flood and tornado watches as the remnants of Debby continue to wreak havoc. The storm's slow crawl along the East Coast today led to heavy rain, flash flooding, and powerful winds. Conditions got so bad in Pennsylvania, people trapped in their homes had to be rescued by boats or helicopters. Some buildings had their backsides completely blown off. And in Maryland, floodwaters got so high you could only tell streets by their road signs. All this coming after Debby's deadly path across the Southeast this week. The storm made 2 landfalls, flooding entire neighborhoods, spawning tornadoes, killing at least 8 people. We have team coverage tonight. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns is standing by with the forecast. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin at LaGuardia Airport in New York City. Aaron, Pennsylvania and upstate New York are seeing some destructive flooding today. What are we learning about the conditions in these areas?
Yeah, we're seeing really harrowing scenes in both upstate New York and in parts of Pennsylvania. I was just talking on the phone to the commissioner of Tioga County there in Pennsylvania, and he just painted this desperate scene. He said that it had been raining pretty hard throughout the day and through the night. It was around 11:45 in the morning when a storm band hit the area, triggering just this incredible flash flood. He said there was flooding across the entire county, submerging homes. He said that firefighters were simply overwhelmed. They had to perform a number of rescues, 20 to 30 rescues by boat to help people get off of their roofs, many folks having no place to go. The situation's so desperate, they actually called in the National Guard by helicopter to also help evacuate people. I spoke to one woman who was seeing the flooding in upstate New York. She was describing how she was following her husband by car. They were going home. Her husband made it across the bridge, but the flash flooding took out the bridge, and she had to turn around. Take a listen to what she had to say.
By the time I got there, like 5 minutes after him, the water was up over. It was up over the bridge, and it was slamming trees into the guardrails and all the businesses down through there. The water is all running right through the businesses again, and it's awful.
Well, thankfully, Maria Southard made it home safe and sound, and the water levels, I'm told by that county commissioner, are now receding, but there's still a tornado watch in effect for much of the region. Valerie.
Yeah, we've seen the destructive path that Debby has left across the East Coast. What are other cities dealing with, and how is this all impacting travel?
Yeah, well, as you can see, I'm at LaGuardia Airport. The airports in the Northeast have been hit hard today. More than 8,000 flight delays or cancellations nationwide, and that is counting. I was just talking to an individual who is coming in from London. They're stranded right now at JFK International Airport, not far away, and they don't know when they're going to be able to make it to Toronto. So many folks are facing that reality now. But the good news is that while Tropical Storm Debby was moving very slowly, if you remember, Valerie, throughout the week up the East Coast, she is expected to leave by the end of the weekend.
Okay, Aaron McLaughlin, thank you for that reporting. Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, I know we're getting close to the tail end of the storm, but how much more damage could we see in the next few hours?
Isolated tornado, maybe, and then some wind damage possible. So we're getting to the very tail end of this. It's like we're at the last final seconds of the game here, and this has been going on for a long time. So as we just saw, this storm way overachieved in areas of Pennsylvania and southern New York, especially right around the border towns. Those are the areas that are going to take days, if not weeks, to clean up. Some people's property is just completely destroyed. Now the storm is actually all the way up into Canada. It just was a rocket ship after being so slow for all week long. It took off today. The tail of it, though, still has to drag through New England, and that's where we could have isolated cases of flash flooding, especially in the mountainous areas here. We have one flash flood warning just outside of Albany, New York, heading on the border with Vermont here in the northern Adirondacks. But Compared to earlier today where we had widespread flash flooding, things are definitely improved. That area of tornado risk is mostly in Connecticut down to Hartford and in the Hudson Valley. We're almost done with it here as that line continues to push to the east. I do not think it's going to be extended into areas of Boston and Providence, but we'll keep an eye on it. And we haven't had any tornadoes reported in a long time, which is great news. And, flash flooding was bad enough to deal with. And as far as additional rainfall, there really is not enough here that's going to cause a lot of headaches. Maybe the mountains of New Hampshire, some isolated flash flooding. Unfortunately, I have to tell you that there's something behind Debbie, and that's just kind of the way it goes as we head towards the peak of the hurricane season, which is, end of August and the first 2 weeks of September. So this is way out here in the Atlantic. So the good news is it's far away. We get a break. Everyone can enjoy their weekend. It does have that development zone, though, heading towards the Virgin Islands or possibly there towards Puerto Rico. And then we'll have to wait and see where it goes from there. It does appear somewhere in the vicinity of the Dominican Republic in about 5 days now. If it heads for the East Coast or not by then, we'll just have to wait and see. That's a long ways off. A lot can change. So here's how your weekend outlook goes. Notice down East Maine, early morning showers, gone. Superb day for everyone that just suffered through all those cloudy, humid, gross days. It looks just fine on the East Coast. Still a couple leftover showers and storms. I know we had a lot of heavy rain today, areas like Wilmington, all the way down to Charleston. So isolated flash flooding is here. Much of the rest of the country is very nice, but it's still very hot, of course, along the Gulf Coast, and that will continue right through your summer. But for everyone that just dealt with all that miserable weather, it's, Valerie, an absolutely superb, great weekend and well-deserved for much of the East Coast.
I'm sure the people that have a lot of storm damage to clean up will appreciate it.
Perfect. Power outages, a lot of tree limbs, clean those storm drains.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Okay, Bill Cairns, thank you. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Up next, trying to close the gaps in ceasefire talks. The sense of urgency across the Middle East and from world leaders for Israel and Hamas to strike a deal. Plus, a life-saving transplant from an unlikely source. NBC's Kate Snow brings us an emotional story about the power of selflessness and gratitude. And later this hour, the Paris Olympics are almost over, but don't tell that to Gadi and our other correspondents. They are facing off and trying their hand at some of the Olympic events.
And here they go. There is furious action in the white boat. They are neck and neck. Oh, it looks like they're going to crash.
Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. A Russian airstrike hit a crowded market in the Donetsk region of Ukraine today. Ukrainian officials say at least 14 people were killed. The Russian-Ukrainian war seemed to go up another notch this week after Ukrainian soldiers appear to have launched a cross-border attack into Russia. Ukrainian officials have yet to acknowledge the attack, but Russia is calling it an unprecedented move. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has ordered a temporary suspension of the platform formerly known as Twitter. In making the announcement yesterday, he said, quote, X out for 10 days, Elon Musk out. Maduro has accused Musk, who owns the platform, of essentially hating on Venezuela after he criticized the recent election there and agreeing with the U.S. that opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez is the rightful winner. Iranian hackers are already targeting U.S. elections. That's the word coming from Microsoft in a new report today, claiming the hackers tried breaking into the account of a, quote, high-ranking official on the U.S. presidential campaign back in June. In response to the report, Iran officials say they do not interfere with internal matters like U.S. elections. And King Charles is now asking for daily updates on the violent protests in the UK, but this does not mean a royal intervention is imminent. There had been criticism this week from a lack of an immediate public response to the riots from the king, with one group calling it, quote, cowardly absence. A third arrest in connection to that foiled plot to attack Taylor Swift concerts in Austria. NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian joins us with what we know about this suspect. Ken?
Valerie, the Austrian Home Secretary announced that an 18-year-old Iraqi national has been taken into custody after allegedly being in contact with the 19-year-old main suspect. Authorities say this person was not directly involved in the planning, but may have been aware of what was going on, and like the main suspect, had pledged allegiance to ISIS a few weeks before. Officials say the 19-year-old confessed to a plan to kill himself and as many others as possible, and had explosives and a machete at his home when they searched it. Now, Taylor Swift is slated to perform 5 shows at London's Wembley Stadium next week from August 15th to the 20th. And British officials are saying there are no plans as of now to cancel those shows. They say they're taking every precaution to make sure that folks there are safe, including possibly placing metal detectors at every entrance. And they're, of course, mindful of the 2017 attack by Islamic extremists outside an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, England, that killed 22 people. London Mayor Sadiq Khan said that many lessons were learned after that attack, and he said authorities will not be complacent. Valerie?
Ken, thank you. Israel launching a new attack on Gaza today, despite signaling they're ready to talk about a ceasefire with Hamas. As we told you last night, Israel is agreeing to send negotiators to a sit-down scheduled for next week. The question is, will the other side? NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber is in Haifa with the very latest. Ellison?
Responding to a call from the leaders of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will send an Israeli team of negotiators to either Doha or Cairo on August 15th. That's this upcoming Thursday, to go back to the negotiating table. So far, no word from Hamas, but experts have long said that it is difficult, given who is now the political leader of Hamas, to get messages to him. Yahya Sinwar is said to be deep in the labyrinth of tunnels that are underneath the Gaza Strip, and it takes a while to get messages to him and to get a response back. But what this joint statement from those 3 countries, the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, says is that it is time to finally make a ceasefire deal, and they want both Israel and Hamas to come back to the table and to finish out some implementation details of the framework of an agreement that they had reached a couple of months ago. President Biden gave a speech on May 31st outlining some of the details in it. So far, all we know is Israel says they will be there either in Doha or Cairo on the 15th. We're still waiting to hear from Hamas. Meanwhile, earlier today, Israel said they launched another ground offensive in the area of Khan Yunis. It's the 3rd time they have launched a ground offensive there since October 7th. Israel claims it is in response to rocket fire, and intelligence say they have about the location of so-called terrorists, that's how they're describing it, and terrorist infrastructure. People there, they have told our teams on the ground, they had very little notice to pack up their belongings and get out before they saw Israeli army, Israeli tanks moving into the area where they hoped they would finally get a bit of relief from the 10-plus months of this war. Back to you.
Ellison, thank you. Meanwhile, a dire humanitarian crisis is unfolding in Gaza, putting vulnerable Palestinians at risk. There's now a growing concern that the lack of safe drinking water is leading to a spread of diseases. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has more, and a warning: the following images in this report may be disturbing.
After 10 months of Israeli strikes, aid groups say the Gaza Strip has become effectively unlivable. The UN says nearly 2/3 of buildings have been damaged and destroyed, a level of devastation not seen, it said, since World War II. Communicable diseases are spreading rapidly, and polluted water is one of the main causes. The World Health Organization said last month it is extremely worried about the spread of polio after traces of the virus were found in wastewater. Infants like 7-month-old Sobiha Hamouda have not been vaccinated since the war began after Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. Sobiha already has a skin disease. Doctors say it's from bacteria in the water she drinks and bathes in. Her mother, Samar, says all the water in Gaza is dirty. She has been suffering from this condition for 20 days, and every day it increases, she says. Samar told us she can neither find nor afford any medicine. Basic necessities, including soap, have become nearly impossible to find. The mayor of Khan Yunis told NBC News at least 30 water wells in southern Gaza were destroyed by Israeli strikes last month alone. We don't have water in the tent, so we come to wash in the street, says 8-year-old Sohail. The World Health Organization says 70% of Gaza's sewage pumps have been destroyed and that not a single sewage treatment plant still functions. So children like Sabiha not only have rashes, many are coming down with hepatitis A as well.
This is due to pollution and bad sanitation and the sewage that is coming in the water that we are drinking and which washing our hands and bodies with it.
Israel is aware of the threat of disease. Last month, the Israeli army announced it will offer polio vaccinations to all soldiers operating in Gaza. Israel fears they could bring it back home. The 2.2 million people of Gaza are still waiting. Israel says it is working with aid organizations to ensure vaccinations are allowed in. Aid groups have more than 1 million doses ready. Richard Engel, NBC News.
Coming up, a potential breakthrough treatment for PTSD is shot down for now. Why the FDA is pumping the brakes on approving MDMA. But first, you gotta see this. Take a look at this picture. AP photographer Francisco Seco captured this unusual photo of Bulgarian Stiliana Niklova during the rhythmic gymnastics competition at the Paris Olympics, making for an eerie, headless-looking photo. An extraordinary photo and an extraordinary gymnast. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. A January 6th rioter is going to jail for 20 years. David Dempsey assaulted police officers during the Capitol riot, even calling for politicians to be hanged. Prosecutors called him one of the most violent people there that day. He pleaded guilty to charges earlier this year. It's now one of the longest sentences handed out in the January 6th case. A Florida man was sentenced to 2 years behind bars this week for threatening to kill California Congressman Eric Swalwell and his kids. The man left voicemails at Swalwell's office where he repeatedly mentioned killing the representative. He pleaded guilty back in May. Travis Scott has been arrested in Paris for allegedly getting into a fight with a hotel security guard and his own bodyguard. Police say the security guard got involved to separate Scott from his bodyguard. A representative for Scott says he had been harassed by paparazzi for days with no one stepping in to help. Scott was in Paris for the Olympics. A close call in Charlotte after a Delta flight carrying Carolina Panthers players overshot the runway, then got stuck in the mud and had to be towed. It happened early this morning. No one was hurt. The FDA has approved a nasal spray for anaphylaxis. It's the first ever approved needle-free treatment for potentially life-threatening allergic reactions, giving people an alternative to injectors like EpiPen. It will be sold under the brand name Neffy. The former Illinois deputy who killed Sonia Massey will stay in jail. A judge this afternoon rejecting his bond request. This is the sheriff who hired him says he will step down. Maura Barrett has the details.
Newly released surveillance video shedding more light on the arrest of former Sangamon County Deputy Sean Grayson tonight.
Sean, these guys will take care of you.
In the video from the jail where he was booked, deputies discuss how to temporarily keep Grayson's name off of the county jail's website.
You can put him in on a temp hold. Yeah, we'll show. We'll get you through it.
Nearly 30 minutes of audio was redacted from the video, the sheriff's office citing privacy exemptions. Grayson himself telling deputies he was in jail custody for, quote, his own safety.
Well, this whole new Safety Act. That's why hopefully I'll be out tomorrow.
The Safety Act, an Illinois law enacted in the last year, eliminates cash bail and allows a defendant like Grayson to argue pretrial release, which was denied in court today. Grayson, held since July 17th, is charged with first-degree murder and official misconduct over the death of Sonia Massey. In his field report, where Grayson logged his perspective of the encounter, he wrote he fired his gun because he feared for his life in Massey's home.
I'm not taking hot boiling water to face.
Amid mounting pressure to resign, including from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, the Sangamon County Sheriff announcing his retirement, writing in a statement, "The current political climate has made it nearly impossible for me to continue effectively in my role." Now, I spoke with some of Sonia Massey's family members who were in court today. They were relieved to hear that Grayson will remain in custody, some of them applauding in the court gallery as the denial was determined. And as for the sheriff's retirement, they welcomed that as well, as they were looking for him to be held accountable. Now, as for Grayson, his attorneys have the option to file an appeal, but that'll take several weeks. The next time we expect to see him in court is at the end of August.
All right, Maura, thank you. Let's go back to Arizona, where Vice President Harris is now on stage in Glendale. Let's listen in.
There are also an incredible group of mayors with us today. Mayor Kate Gallego, Mayor Corey Woods, and Arizona co-chair of Republicans for Harris, Mayor John Giles. So today, I also bring greetings from our incredible President, Joe Biden. And I know we are all deeply grateful for his lifetime of service to our nation, and we thank Joe Biden each and every day for all he is and all he has done and all he has yet to do. Let us thank him always.
That was a live look at Vice President Harris at a rally tonight in Glendale, Arizona. She's expected to head to Nevada tomorrow. Still ahead, the ultimate gift of life, an incredible story of selflessness and gratitude, how a Nebraska man saved the life of a member of his own family. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. The Bay Area is facing a COVID vaccine shortage. At the same time, cases there are surging. It appears the limited supply is because current doses are expiring. Newly formulated vaccines are expected to arrive in September. Grand Canyon Rangers found the body of a missing woman earlier this week. Her body was found 155 feet below the canyon's South Rim overlook. Officials are still investigating how she died. This marks the third death at the national park since the end of July. And one lucky woman from Hawaii won $891,000 jackpot at a Vegas casino slot machine this week. The winner has asked to remain anonymous and is hiding behind the check in this photo. She was playing the Wheel of Fortune slot machine and placed a $1.75 bet. She won the jackpot after triggering a bonus event in the game. Goes to show you never know how far $1.75 can take you in life. A few hours ago, the FDA rejected MDMA therapy as a treatment for PTSD. It's a setback for the growing movement to use psychedelics for treatment of mental health conditions. It comes as the agency was under intense pressure from politicians and veterans to approve the drug. Last week, 80 members of Congress sent a letter to President Biden underscoring the grave need for new treatments to address PTSD in veterans. But back in June, the FDA's own advisory committee said there wasn't enough evidence the therapy was safe or effective. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal joins me now. So, Dr. Syal, break down why the FDA shot down this treatment.
Hey, Valerie. So the short answer here is that they want more data. And so just to expand on that a little bit, when we're approving new drugs in this country, whether it's COVID vaccines or new medications, you want to prove, in a randomized controlled trial that these things work. And Valerie, what that means is, you give a placebo to some people and you give the drug to the other people, and nobody really knows which one they're getting. But the problem, Valerie, with MDMA and with psychedelics in general is that you can't really blind that, right? So if I give a patient aspirin, they may not know which, if they're getting an aspirin or a placebo, but if you're getting a psychedelic, you know if you're getting a psychedelic, and that can kind of confound the results. And so that's one of the big concerns the FDA has here tonight, Valerie, is that, the data may not be as robust as they would like, and they're asking the company to sort of go back to the drawing board and do a little bit more research.
And what were some of the other big concerns the agency originally had?
So when you're talking about MDMA, there are some risks associated with it, including, with this as well as with psilocybin. And the big thing to really watch for here is heart problems, including a really fast heart rate, really high blood pressure, as well as any potentials for abuse. And you can see, Valerie, here, they're kind of balancing the two here, right? Those safety risks on the right side compared with things it might be used for, including anxiety, depression, substance abuse like alcohol use disorder, and potentially eating disorders. So, whenever you're deciding whether or not to approve things, you have to weigh the risks and benefits. And tonight, Valerie, the FDA is saying there's just not enough evidence to recommend it for PTSD.
So what does this decision mean for psychedelic treatments? Are there still viable paths in the future, more clinical trials?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way this is being described by researchers in the field is a setback, right? It's not over. It is something that, there are sort of glad that the FDA is paying such close attention. You want to make sure those rigorous safety standards are in play. But Valerie, there's over 40, studies in trials right now for MDMA, and there's also a handful for psilocybin, the chemical and magic mushroom. So there's a lot of research going on right now, and I don't think this is a major setback. I think this is just something that the FDA is saying we need to be a little bit more cautious. We need a little bit more data before we can say for sure that this works, and at the same time not dismiss the results for many people out there that it has worked for, Valerie. So a lot to look forward to.
All right, Dr. Akshay Sale, thank you. When it comes to heart donations, most are between strangers, but in some rare cases, it can happen between loved ones. Tonight, we have the story of one family's difficult journey to give the ultimate gift. Here's NBC News Daily anchor Kate Snow.
On a summer morning last July, 46-year-old TJ Dick told his daughter he needed to go to the ER. Then he collapsed. Aiden started CPR.
I just knew that was what I was supposed to do.
At Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, doctors found blood clots throughout TJ's chest. TJ was known for his toughness. At first, the family was hopeful he would recover. But then a doctor showed his wife Leah and their 3 kids his brain scans.
And what were they saying? It was a complete global loss of his brain.
Leah actually works at Nebraska Medicine on a team that facilitates organ donation. TJ had always been a registered donor.
We were all standing around the bed, just me and the kids. And Aiden said, "Mom, could Uncle Packy get his heart?"
Packy is married to Leah's sister. He's TJ's brother-in-law.
You guys were really close. Yeah. Was he kind of like a brother to you?
Yeah. He was a brother.
The two families would go boating and camping together. Packy's heart had been failing for years, but he was still working every day, pouring concrete, kept alive by a pump he wore around his neck. Packy was already waiting for a transplant. But when Leah and her kids told Packy they wanted him to take TJ's heart, Packy refused.
And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Not.
Packy's family begged him to reconsider.
In the end, what made you say yes?
My kids. They love me. I understand. Because if it would have been me against TJ, I would have done the same thing.
If it had been the reverse, you would have done the same thing.
No.
There were still hurdles. Direct donations are very rare. Doctors weren't sure Packy and TJ would be a match. And then another twist. The next day, Packy was in a horrible car accident.
You broke your back?
In 3 spots, yeah.
Multiple tragedies happened. I think it's, in my mind, more of salvaging, trying to get some hope out of a really tragic set of circumstances.
Packy made it through back surgery, and doctors determined he and TJ were a match. The donation could happen. They wheeled Packy's bed next to TJ's so Packy could say goodbye.
At least gave me a chance to see him. Give him a kiss goodbye. He was still young,
Hundreds of people lined the halls for the emotional hero walk to honor TJ. TJ's heart was implanted in Packy. Packy suffered a small stroke that impairs his speech, but now he has a healthy heart. Packy says he thinks about TJ all the time.
I talk to TJ almost every day. I do.
You talk out loud?
Yeah. I'm in the truck by myself, so it doesn't really matter.
And do you tell him what's going on?
He can see. He can see me.
TJ's kids, Aiden and Atticus, are proud of their dad.
He did everything big, like big personality, big heart, big everything, so I'm not surprised that he went out big.
God works in ways that we just really don't understand, and like all of these things, they lined up perfectly.
That's
Right.
TJ. And Packy. That's Packy. Miracles happen. I've seen things in the last year that by no means could be an accident. It's amazing. Prayers work. And organ donation is amazing. I can't imagine if we didn't have that, what it would have been like to lose him without something good coming of it.
Kate Snow, NBC News.
Before we go, it's time for the future of everything, the future of search. Major fallout expected after this week's Google antitrust ruling. An in-depth look at the ways it could change the internet as we know it. Plus, getting in the game, our NBC News team has been watching the world's best athletes compete in Paris. Tonight, Gadi and company are jumping into the action themselves. Time now for the future of everything. From a search engine born in a Stanford dorm room to a verb in our vocabulary, Google's tech dominance has been unrivaled. But that dominance might be challenged soon. That's because of a federal court ruling this week that could redefine the future of Google, which, according to the judge, has no true competitor. In fact, Google's grip on the general search market has only gotten stronger, climbing from almost 80% to more than 90% since 2009. That's what the Department of Justice calls a monopoly.
Right now is perhaps the most critical inflection point we've seen in the search market in 15 years, and making sure that it has the opportunity, that competitors have the opportunity to compete on the merits, benefit of their own innovations, and win or lose based on the merits of their products is the most important thing right now.
Joining me to talk about what could happen now is Shira Ovide, a tech writer at The Washington Post and author of the article 6 Ways the Google Antitrust Ruling Could Change the Internet. Shira, thanks for joining us tonight. Of all the possibilities you've outlined for Google's future, what is the one that we could most likely see?
It's a good question, and I want to caveat by saying we don't know, right? We don't know what the government is going to ask for or what the judge is going to grant, but I'll mention a couple possibilities. One is that right now, if you use an iPhone, if you have a Samsung phone, if you use the Firefox web browser, the standard, the automatic choice that those companies chose for you because of exclusive contracts with Google is that you search using the Google search engine, right? So one of the possibilities is that the government and the judge could force Google to basically change those contracts so that you have to make an active choice, right? Not just a choice that's made for you of which search engine you want to use. And maybe you'd have to make that choice repeatedly, not just the first time you set up an iPhone or the first time you set up a Samsung phone. The other possibility I'll mention, which is sort of interesting and we haven't seen before, is maybe Google would have to license its search technology, basically give up its data, its secret sauce, to competitors that want to make Google quality search, but with their own twist on this, right? Sort of Google quality search, but focused on privacy or without ads or tailored to children, things like that. And, you know, in practice, or in theory at least, that could be competition for Google, but high quality competition for Google.
There's also a scenario here where nothing happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the difficulty, right? Is that Google is so entrenched. It's a verb. It has 90% market share in the United States, as you said. And what we've seen in the European Union, for example, where they've already accused Google of being a monopolist and forced Google to make some changes. And one of those changes was exactly the first one that I described, right? That people are given sort of a screen, a choice screen of which search engine do you want to use. And most people pick Google. And so the Google's market share has not really changed in the European Union. And it's difficult, right? Because Judge Mehta, the judge in this case, even said Google is the best search engine. But the question is Google the best because it's the best, or is Google the best because it cheated to get that way? And now the government is going to want to change those cheating circumstances to try to make it more competitive.
And Google's relationship with Apple is mentioned a lot in this ruling. How could that change?
Yeah, I mean, it really was the heart of this case, is the relationship between Google and Apple. And look, the ultimate end game here is that it may be that this contractual arrangement between Google and Apple, which again, Apple and Google are making a choice for you. If you use an iPhone, it's the automatic search engine. If you're using the Safari browser, could be those contracts are completely unwound. And you would be given an affirmative choice, and Apple would lose something like $20 billion a year from this contractual arrangement.
All right, we'll see how this plays out. Shira Ovide with The Washington Post, thank you so much. Finally, tonight, let's head over to Paris as the Olympic Games near their close. The U.S. women's track team winning gold today in the 4x100 relay. Sha'Carri Richardson, who won silver in the solo 100 meters, ran the last leg to clinch the victory. And as everyone gets ready to say goodbye to Paris, our team of correspondents, including Gadi Schwartz, are soaking in the last moments, showing us that the most important thing isn't winning, but just taking part. Kind of. Take a look.
This is Jimmy Roberts reporting from Paris, where the competition this summer has been especially intense. And as we move towards the finish line, it's heated up in a way that you just can't imagine that anyone saw coming. 4 correspondents.
Don't waste your time and try to stop me. It's impossible.
3 events.
And I'ma win no matter what you do. Yeah.
No rules. What could possibly go wrong?
So let's see what happens. They got nothing. This is gonna be easy. 3, 2. They got on a little bit of a run. It's like momentum. It's a funny thing.
Yeah! We need an actual ref, please.
That's game! Woo! All right, now we run. Stir up some dirt and run right by Gadi. Here we go.
On your marks.
Let's go, now go! Let's go!
Go, Gadi, go! Go, Gadi, go!
So it all comes down to this. Gadi and Nauko, Sam and Kira, all tied up, just one event to go. And here they go. There is furious action in the white boat. They are neck and neck. Oh, it looks like they're going to crash. What an Olympic moment. Nauko and Gadi have won the Correspondent Olympics. It's hard not to get carried away here, because the past 2 weeks have been a reminder.
What a historical moment!
Through heartbreak and heroism.
The greatest to ever do it.
Of the awesome power of sport.
It's gold for USA!
And sportsmanship to bring us all together.
Baby, you're the Olympic champion!
That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.